another thing that makes me who I am, although it's almost not expressed at all in my art, it sneaks into the suburban ledgers, which is, my role as mother of two human beings that have turned out to be exciting scientists that I am really thrilled with. The dialogue I have with them, one-to-one as art colleague to science colleagues, it goes beyond the fact that I'm their mother. And I joke that I've given birth to my two favorite people on this planet. But we speak all the time about how intricate the relationship is between art and science. They would claim, my husband is a construction worker, and so he's very good at putting things together well, and we're very material aware. And that has fed into my art very much. Often, let me see if I can see an example of it here. An example of it is on these papers here, where the material is not random, it is part of the dialogue. For instance, the overpopulation piece is done with old carbon paper, because I'm referencing the carbon. I was trying to use wax, but I didn't want petroleum-based wax, so I finally found beeswax crayons to do some of the rubbings. Granite was one of the first graphite was one of the first minerals to appear, and because I love graphite as an artist, I found that thrill, so I'm using a lot of graphite here. But there are other works of mine where the material plays a vital role. Maybe the blue earth I was thinking of. The blue earth, which kind of visually just looks blue. It's kind of one of the less exciting ones, maybe on first take. But when the earth had a lot of water suddenly on its surface, not completely covered as that one shows, that is when life most likely started. But they don't know, was it salty water, was it brackish water, was it fresh water? Just what was that thing? My knowledge of the relationship of salt to life made me say, I'm going to guess salt. So after I got the blue as wet as I could, I'm layering the blue watercolor, different blues, because I didn't want it to be one type of blue. But it was really wet, and I put it on the floor and just salted it, and you can see these interesting little patterns. There's actually a couple of salt crystals that didn't melt, and so that's why I'm using the material very specifically as part of the dialogue. In past pieces, I'm sneaking in personal stuff with the sharks, because coffee is so important to my ritual life. It's symbolic of my family unit to me. I really love the warmth and the camaraderie that comes with a morning coffee. And so for years I've been saving my coffee filters. And one of the first things I already mentioned, the piece where I just pinned them to the wall. That was a great moment in my life. I was pinning trash to the wall, and people were telling me it was beautiful and wonderful, and I thought, I won something. I've won my life's idea of what winning is, because that was it. In this case, these shark fins have a few different things. I wanted to paper mache them, but I knew if they were, and they are paper mache, but I knew if I just paper mache them, let's say looking at a photograph of a shark, they would probably be lumpy and bumpy, and I didn't know how to have the unquestionable accuracy, not only of shark, but of specific species shark. And so finally what I did was I actually purchased 3D models of sharks. It took a while to find somebody who didn't have a goofy one or a playful one, but really accurate ones. And this is again where performance happens, where nobody sees. So I have a computer savvy person helping me to work this. And so these are whole sharks, the blue shark, the black tip reef shark, and the Caribbean reef shark. And they were picked the first two were picked because they're two of the most finned sharks there are. The third one was picked to reference local. I just, one step in my community. But so we get these sharks and we're looking at the computer model, and I'm saying I want them to be sliced digitally in the same violent action going along the body that they would have been in real life. And this young man who was helping me, we're digitally finning these sharks, and we felt almost sick. Like it was such a violent act, and I thought, well, I certainly hope just at least a little bit of this comes through in the end product, because this was like disturbing. Then I wanted to make them life size. It turns out these sharks are enormous. These are within adult range, but I had to make them not the largest version to be able to use the 3D printer. Then I thought the 3D printer was a contradiction to everything I do, but then I bought the plant-based plastic stuff so that I could make them only out of the plant-based plastic. I still felt a little funny using plastic, but the larger fins still were too large for the 3D printer, so we had to make them in parts and put them together.